Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
All right. So, you all may have noticed we're doing something a little different tonight. Yes, this still is one of the 4 nights that we're doing a niche newscast, but I'm going to try something a little different here. I decided I'm going to try to have a guest co-host on each night. Just as we have the guest co-host on for the historical comic retrospect. Figured people might be interested in checking us out as we're going over some of the topics, some of the articles, and stuff like that together. Hopefully, that will help spark even more conversation. Get people more involved. So, as always, guys, if you haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. Now, as I always do, I'm gonna hand things over to my co-host here for a moment, so he can introduce himself, talk about who he is, what he does, and share any links if he should so desire. So go for it, my friend.
Well, as my title there says, or whatever you want to call that, I am Rick Piper of Cross Comics. I make my own comic books, a comic producer um, of the company called Cross Comics, and I have 3 comic books out on my website, although I don't have access to a lot of them to send out at the moment. So that might potentially be a problem if I get a lot of orders. um, but aside from that, yeah, I'm into comic books, and so I think I think I might be a decent host, a co-host to be with you on this. So, but no links at the moment to share out.
All right, so let me just do this real quick because, of course, they don't always mark the viewers as correctly. So let me just see if I can wake them up a little bit here.
Yeah. Well, what matters, I think, for that is the ultimate thing afterwards. You know, when you check out your stuff behind the scenes, if you do, how many they think are there or not there.
Yeah. Well, I think I get more. I think I did because I have I've been starting to look at my view counts a little bit
Your
more close.
analytics.
Yeah, my analytics and I'm I think I do get some. I think I have been actually getting some views post video. So people do
Yeah.
at least with mine since I'm more of a commentary channel. Anyways, it's good because people can still get the information even you know you know
After the fact.
All right. So let's see. So yeah,
Uh,
we're at 3 minutes. So let's see, we're 3 minutes coming up on four. So I guess we can.
so, yeah,
Oh,
what
go ahead.
articles do we have? I was just gonna say, what articles do we have up tonight on the?
Yeah, I was just getting ready. I was just about ready to share those, I believe. I think
Uh-huh.
we'll get right in. Think we'll get right into that. So, oh yeah, that's right. Because I didn't announce. I told you, I think before we went on, but I guess I
Yeah.
forgot to mention it. So thank you. So tonight, of course, we got 3 articles we're gonna look over from Bleeding Fool here, including controversial woke writer sending Archie comics to the depths of hell. Want to see what that author of that article means.
Yeah. See whether
Uh,
it's figurative or literal.
what could go wrong? New York City schools publishing educational comics, and wonder what that's all about. And X Men the animated series fans should ignore Disney's X Men '97, and we've been talking a lot about that lately, as the premiere date for that new series is coming up on us fast. So, with all that being said, plus, of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up and this day in each history later on in the show. So, with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started here. We'll go with the first. All right, so controversial woke writer sending Archie comics to depths of hell. Article by Avi Green, published this past Thursday, February 15th, 2014. Yeah. Now, Avi at times can be a pretty lengthy writer. So, but we'll see. But lately he's been shortening his article. So let's see what's going on here. So this is Avi talking here. And Rick, as you well know, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to chime in. Comment,
Yeah.
ask
Uh,
questions.
Once upon a time, I was a very avid Archie comics reader, so Archie is near and dear to my heart as a comic book.
Yeah. So, so the Wrap reports Archie Publishing's still putting their cast of characters in the depths of hell, and this time they've even hired one of the wokest writers to do the job. And this is, I guess, from the article. Riverdale's resident hero, Archie, goes darker in new comic book series. Now, I did hear something about they were I guess coming out with a new Archie horror imprint. I do remember doing an article about that. Covering an article about that a few months back. So,
Yeah, I know they've tried it a few times, like Afterlife with Archie, I believe, was a little bit horror. I think there's been some other things. Maybe Archie's Weird Mysteries a little bit that was on TV. There
mhm.
was, some possible horror elements to that. But like
Well,
I'm not sure how much.
it's kind of funny too, Rick, because one of the cartoons I've been watching of late, on my own little viewing thing here, is Martin Mystery, and I'm sure being Canadian, you're familiar with that show. Came out.
Actually, I'm not.
Oh,
But
it's kind of got the feel Archie. It's basically about the main character is Martin Mystery. He's a agent for the super secret organization that investigates um, supernatural cases. Today it's like the vengeance of the Venus flytrap, as it were. Um,
okay.
so it's got I would have thought you would have
But
heard because
Archie.
that's actually a Canadian cartoon, Martin Mystery.
There's lots of Canadian things, shows, and all that I've never heard of. But Archie, Archie has done obviously some horror things in the past. I don't know,
Mhm.
or so
You did say
maybe
past,
Canadian
not
thing.
right. You did say past, right?
Yeah, past in the past.
Because for a moment there, it sounded like the P didn't come quite out there, so it sounded like you said something else. If you get what I mean. Yeah. Anyways, continue on. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to.
But so maybe like I'm not sure how successful that was the couple things Archie's Weird Mysteries I think did pretty good. I think they even made it into a comic book.
Yeah, I think
So
I have. I think I've seen that a few times when I've done the history segments. I've seen that.
so um that's not, I guess, necessarily a bad thing. It depends on how they do their horror. They do it kiddie or
Mhm.
teenagery. You know, not too bad. So I don't think it's a bad thing that they're doing horror. I'm not
Mhm.
sure how you get Archie in hell, but
Well, I guess
okay,
we'll find out soon enough as we go through this article, right?
yeah.
All right. Anything more you want to add to your comments before I get back to the article?
Not at this time, not that I can think of.
All right. All right. So this is still from the article then. Quote, Archie Comics Judgment Day, unquote, which fully plunges the gang into the heart of darkness, hits comic book stands on May 22nd from the Archie Horror imprint. The three-issue miniseries is the first Archie Premium event, quote, which will designate upcoming Archie stories that are simply too grand for a single one-shot release, unquote, according to the official release. In parentheses there.
Well, there's something I really can't. Crass. Okay. Not obviously, I have, as a Christian, born again Christian, I have a different take on what it takes to go to hell. But most people think if you're a goody two shoes, that you wouldn't be going to hell. So, like, how do you put in their eyes Archie or say Betty, either of those two? I think, and how maybe we might be able to see Reggie or Veronica.
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's debating on Jughead, and of course, there's others that you can easily see and easily not see. But anyways,
Well, even from a Christian standpoint, though, at least with Jug, well, no, I don't. Well, let's see. But then would Jughead be a glutton though?
yeah, that's the only thing that I think with Jughead. Normally he's a good guy, but he has a little bit too much in the way of gluttony.
Too much of an appetite, maybe.
Yeah, but it depends on how you want to consider it. And it's hard to tell with some of these mainstream people how they would do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, on with
Okay,
uh,
so
the article.
Archie Comics Judgment. Oh, wait, actually, we read
You
that
read
part.
that.
Yeah.
I think you read all
Oh, yeah.
this.
Yeah. That's, I was just look at it. Archie. Look at the headers there. Archie Horror.
And
Archie Comics 666. Oh brother.
that's probably why they're doing it, because they got to that number. So everybody wants to do something horror when they get to that number, right?
Mhm. So this I get still from the article here. The new series was written by Aubrey Sitterson. Now I've done an article. I did, um, Aubrey Sitterson, from what I do understand, is a pretty woke guy. From what I understand, because I did read up an article about it. I mean, he got some flack for, I guess, some of the stuff he was doing in GI Joe,
Okay.
the GI Joe comics that he was writing. So, with art by Megan Hutchinson, colors by Matt Herms, and letters by Jack Morelli. And no, that's not the same Jack Morelli from GI. That's not Daltone from from GI Joe. That's, I guess, a different person altogether. Um, According to the official synopsis, this new series, quote, sets Archie Andrews on a daring quest to cleanse an alternate version of Riverdale overrun by demons. After claiming some destructive powers of his own, Archie is forced to destroy corrupted versions of the people closest to him, ostensibly in the name of the greater good.
Oh, so
Next,
basically he's become Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
maybe. As questions about his own morality and the sacrifices he's made start to pile up, Archie must confront if his efforts are truly good or, in fact, the work of pure evil. Okay. Oh boy. Oh boy. If that, what do you think of that pick? That guy doesn't look all that happy.
No.
Don't think he'd be somebody I'd be wanting to spend a whole lot of time with, huh? All right. So back to Avi here. It sounds almost like they want to put the older values of the comics on trial, and even went out of their way to hire the same writer who caused a scandal several years ago, back with his woke sculpting of GI Joe at
Scripting.
IDW. What I was just mentioning about to you.
Yeah, but that's scripting, not sculpting.
Scripting. I guess scripting would make more sense since since he's a writer.
Although I could see both making sense, but because you're sculpting the script.
Yeah. When they still had the publishing license. Yeah, it was this guy, I think, was part of the reason why Hasbro took GI Joe away from from
Yeah.
IDW. Yeah. Um, which at the time led to his dismissal. But who knows if Hasbro would be so responsible with their products today.
I think they would because it wasn't that long ago. But you know, I don't think
Yeah.
people will be.
This is, I guess this is a tweet that Aubrey shared here. Some of you are going to hate this, but what makes me love it even more? But that makes me love it even more. Like he's poking the bear there a bit. G.I.
Yeah.
Joe brings in first queer artist for homoerotic new variant cover. Oh boy. And I'll just
Okay.
fly
Let's
over the.
go up for a sec. I want to see this.
I didn't
Okay.
think you'd want to see it, but
Well, okay. They just have the guy with the arm around. To me, with the little bit I'm seeing there, it doesn't really look very homoerotic.
yeah. But the guy on the far left there kind of reminds me of the Village People.
Yeah.
Do you know who the Village People are?
Yeah, yeah. They have a very popular song.
Yeah, YMCA. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, which is kind of ironic because, as I recall, YMCA actually stands for Young Men's Christian Association,
Yes.
and a group that's basically all gay men singing about Young Men's Christian Association. That's almost kind of funny.
What was the Village People a gay band? I didn't think so. I
Well,
just thought they were just
they
all
were. They
guys.
just didn't. They were just not out in the open like they would be today. It was revealed years later that yes, the guys in the band were gay.
Oh, okay.
So, um, the Archie staff continued to gush on. I'm just going back to the article now. So, Judgment Day is the first in a compelling slate of events as we look to the future of Archie. We wanted to translate our success in TV and film to focus that sense of grandeur back to our core publishing efforts. With our Archie Premium event series, we've imbued
Yeah.
each project with
I,
an.
I'd just like to know. I'd just like to know what success in TV and film. Any real Archie fan does not like anything that they've done.
Well,
The
I
main
mean, yeah,
can the main can fans.
you mentioned earlier Archie's Weird Mysteries.
Yeah,
Um,
what I'm more thinking about is they're probably more talking recent stuff, and I'm thinking Riverdale, Sabrina,
mhm.
that more recent stuff.
Well,
Most
Sabrina's also been around for quite a bit over the years too, in that regard. Because
Yeah,
Sabrina had her own show. Sabrina and the Groovy Ghoulies back in the '70s.
yeah. There was obviously the one with Melissa Joan Hart,
Yeah,
but
the '90s, the late '80s, late '80s, '90s. Version.
there's also recently been a new Sabrina the Teenage Witch one, and from what I hear, that
Now,
is
the one back in the back I believe in the '90s or the early 2000s, the one that Melissa Joan Hart starred in, that one actually was a pretty successful show.
yeah, it was pretty successful. Although I must admit, it did not really accurately represent the comics either. But it was still comical, it was still funny, and all that.
Hmm.
Where these, Riverdale and the new Sabrina one, whatever it's called, I think it's just called Sabrina. They
Hmm.
don't, again, they don't accurately reflect the comics, but they're not funny. They don't, none of the characters are even remotely close to the comics. And no, there was also a few years back, there was the Josie and the Pussycats movie, although I liked it and it was a bit funny and all that. Again, it wasn't quite like the comic books, which I was very disappointed in.
Hmm.
But I think it kept a lot more to the spirit of the comics than Riverdale or the
Mhm.
more recent Sabrina.
Hmm. All right. So, anyways,
Anyways,
as we continue on here, let's see. With our Archie Premium event series, we've imbued each project with an epic sense of storytelling that is evocative of the exciting new direction for the company, unquote, said Jonathan Betancourt, Archie Comics Senior Vice President, in an official release. Quote, in addition to our concentrated focus on elevated storytelling, these new series are also investments for the larger comic book community, transforming what would be a normal print issue into a must have collector's item. I don't know if people would really be depending upon what they were doing with it. I don't know if it's popular enough to where people would want to be
yeah,
looking
they
at it.
are obviously trying to do something like when they did, which created um, life, some life with Archie. When they did the event about what life would be like for Archie when he married, if he married Betty or if he married Veronica.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've seen those, but they usually would, when I do my history segments, right? I've seen those, but like Archie Archie and Betty, Archie and Veronica. You know.
yeah, which that event ended up turning into, of course, a comic book type magazine where they had two main stories in it. With one where it was detailing the more intricate details of those lives, and then of course that turned into the afterlife with Archie, from what
Hmm.
I know.
All right, so this isn't just a forced direction written in the depths of desperation. And this is Avi talking. Now we're back to Avi speaking here. It's also an attempt to salvage their sales by promoting this garbage to the speculator market. Hmm. Would you agree with that assessment, Rick?
Probably, and you know why there's well, I obviously can't say for sure, but because it's been a while since I've read Archie on a regular basis. But they had a something that worked. It took them for like 6+ decades, maybe 7 to 8 decades
Mm-hmm.
of stuff, and now they want to. They went and changed the formula completely, which alienated anybody that really liked Archie.
Mm-hmm. All in the sake of pushing agendas, right?
Well, some of it was pushing an agenda. Obviously, some is, when they introduced Kevin in there, just to try and bring in a crowd that probably wasn't going to buy. I'm not sure how well that worked out for them one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but also, they, you know, they had. But what I mean by the thing that they work, you get a comic, it has 2 or 3 stories. There's no real continuity to it. And people like that. Archie is the teenager. Yes, every so often they bring him up into whatever decade. He's not still operating like the 40s when he was first created. So that I would say is good, decent. That they bring him along.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you might have had to introduce a gay character or whatever at some point. Not that I'm up for it, but unfortunately, gay people are part of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think but then they about, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, they went, and I'm not sure whether it worked out for them or not. They rebooted everything and they tried to do a comic with continuity. I,
Hmm.
I liked it for the few that I
Mm-hmm.
read, but I'm not sure whether it worked out for them.
All right, so let's go ahead and continue on with the article then here. All right. So with it, let's see. No matter how much it's long become a joke, that's done more harm than good to the community. But but if they keep on with their woke directions, it could even have the effect of lowering the value of even the older stories from decades past, because there are investors out there who might have a problem with collecting stuff that's embarrassingly woke, and it might not be easy to trade around, as some speculators keep doing. So what they're saying is they're afraid that speculators might not get even the older stories because it's associated with this garbage.
Yeah, and they don't want to they don't want to, because they might, means collecting this stuff to be part of their collection.
Right. At best, such items might be considered acceptable investment with the more woke ideologies. Then again, maybe they won't be, which would just confirm the only reason stories laced with identity politics have for being is to litter bargain bins and serve the purpose of spreading propaganda en masse. When the speculator market becomes the foremost focus, it's obvious merit-based storytelling isn't what the publishers are interested in. And Archie's obsession with the horror genre has long gotten out of hand, becoming very insufferable. What would you say about that statement, Rick?
Well, I don't know how much it's become an obsession with them. Like I said, I know a few of the things that could be considered horror. Um, if they've gotten into horror too much, yeah, I mean, the brand that Archie's been, I do see it could how it could negatively affect them and become insufferable, to a group of people that were their diehard fans. There was once upon a time that I was a diehard Archie fan. Like in my collection, probably have two or three. I probably have, I don't know, 500 to somewhere between 500 to 1,000 Archie books.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not that I just haven't been collecting Archie on a regular basis, and I haven't been collecting comics on a regular basis anymore. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, when I got into the superhero genre, my Archie thing made it.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, because Archie's more of a slice of life, cartoony type
Yeah,
comic, or
yeah,
had been traditionally. Now you don't know what it is with what these people are doing to it, right?
yeah. Offhand, no, I don't. Like I used to love Archie, and in a lot of ways, I still love old Archie, and I would love to collect a lot more older Archie stuff. I
Well,
don't know.
we've been, obviously we've been, well, we even though we haven't actually started reading anything Archie yet, we have been reading some of the books from their
Yeah,
forerunners from MLJ Enterprise and stuff like the Shield and all that.
yeah, yeah. And eventually, even in that, you're going to end up with Archie in Pep Comics.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is which you because that's where he first appeared, and he ends up blowing up that comic company.
Right. Basically
Yeah, it's every,
outpacing superhero titles.
yeah, yeah, it's had a few different names, just like Marvel over the years, but you know, it's what got them popular. And they were unlike DC and Marvel, they were able to survive on that slice of life stuff.
Yeah.
It was their thing, and if you change the format of something, that's made you survive for decades, you might end up losing money.
Hmm. All right. So, anyways, we'll get ready to move on to the next article then. Um,
Yeah.
that was a pretty good discussion we were having there as we were going over that story.
Hey, good night, Spoon. One of my guys, he says, Rick sent me here from the future to save the stream for being kids.
Well, hello, good night, Spoon. I hope you will stick around, and if anything, first off, if you can help us out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we will try to answer the questions to the best of our abilities. So, now with all that being said, let's move on to the next article
And,
here.
and good night, Spoon. If you haven't, if you please hit that subscribe button for Mike. I'm on here once every month or once every month and a half, reading some older comics with him too. So
Hmm. Yeah. So, in fact, you'll be on this Friday night with me. We'll be going over comics
yeah,
coming on sale in January 1940 from Quality Comics. So we'll be seeing one of our favorites, Captain Napkin Face, aka the Clock, as well as, of course, um, as well as
yeah. And I'm probably going to be on here a little bit more often with because Mike's going to be trying out co-hosts or getting hopefully trying to get co-hosts on for going through articles. He says I'm physically incapable of hitting the like button.
um, uh, all right. So, anyways, let's get ready to move on to the next article we're going to cover here. All right. So, this next article, what could go wrong? New York City schools publishing educational comics. I wonder what
At
that's all
one
about.
at one time, that might have been a good thing. Now I'm not so sure.
Especially with the way the school system is nowadays.
And in New York. And Goodnight Spoon says, I'm also a conscientious objector and pacifist. I choose not to hit things or people, and it hurts. Okay, how about you press the like button? Instead of hitting it, just press it, tap it.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, let me just do real quick.
or click it.
All right. Just so we can get the word out and get some more friendly people in here to engage. That's the whole point.
Yeah. He's teasing. I'm not sure whether he has, but he probably has it the like button or tapped it or clicked it, however you want to say.
All right. So what we could go. Okay. So article by Avi Green, published back on Friday. So here we go. Oh, and look at this. This looks like some kind of United Farm Workers marching from Deland to the Capitol in Sacramento, um, August 2022.
She says, I'm also against pressing and pressuring or persuading and pressure related activities such as peers.
Mm. Anyways, Popverse announced that New York City school curriculums introducing their own comics, allegedly for education. Now, this is from the article, I guess he's referencing here. Reading comics while in school could get you in trouble. In parentheses, unless comics are part of the curriculum. Parentheses. Um, but the New York City public school system is doing something unique. It's a comic publisher itself, and it has a big new project with a print run of 100,000. Now, before I continue on, I do want to mention, because I've probably mentioned this a few times before. They actually did kind of point this out in a movie. I think that's back in the late '80s or early '90s or something like that. It starred Michael Tucker and Jill Eikenberry, called "A Town Torn Apart," set in a New England town where Michael Tucker came in as principal Dennis Lipke of a school that was kind of not doing as well, but it wasn't an inner city school like in like in like in the Lean on Me movie. It was actually more of a it was more of a suburban school kind of thing. Um,
Uh,
and Jill Eigenberry was a pretty well known teacher, pretty highly regarded teacher, and so he asked her to take on a class of students who were like 2 years or more behind in their reading skills. And I remember,
yeah,
and I've told you this story before, Rick. But for those who hadn't heard this story, so one of the
yeah,
aspects of the movie was is that she goes to him and well, all they wanted, because she's trying to get them to read like Tom Sawyer and stuff like that and Huckleberry Finn, right? And all they want to
yeah,
do is read comic books. And she goes to, all they want to do is read comic books. And he replies to her, so let them read comic books. They're
yeah,
reading, right? So with something like that,
yeah.
to promote literacy.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
go ahead.
could be a good idea for sure. It's just a question of how they do it and what the comics are about, I guess, especially when you're making them a particular one part of the curriculum.
Hmm. Yeah. So, anyways, and I'm seeing now. Goodnight Spoon is a bit of a comedian, a bit of a punist himself, like you, Rick.
Yes.
I once knew a guy named allegedly. All right. So, anyways, so this is back to Avi speaking. Then on
Uh,
this, oh, were you about to say something, Rick?
well, Goodnight Spoon said there was an episode of Boy Meets World where they read comics in class for schoolwork.
Hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that as well, too, was one of the funny things. Will Friedle, who played Eric Matthews, Corey's older brother, actually
Yeah.
went on to a bit of a voice acting career. Most notably, of course, portraying the voice of Terry McGinnis, Batman in Batman Beyond, and
Oh,
he's got a
cool,
few
cool,
other
cool.
voices as well. So that was, it's quite interesting too. Um, let's see. On this, there's certainly an interesting point to be made about how strange it is the school system won't accept comics unless there's something the education department developed themselves. And I think we're about to see why in this next sentence here. But the following brings up something that doesn't really make this unique so much as it does hint is more like liberal political propaganda. But
Okay. And
I was
before
just
we get
about
on,
to say that before I saw, oh, wait, they're about to say that.
yeah. And the Goodnight Spoon's got a couple more statements here. It says there was also an episode of Girl Meets World where a female teacher did the same, but she was fired. I thought he was famous for playing Ron Stoppable. Well, maybe.
I didn't know that he, from Kim Possible, I guess, but,
Yeah, he might have did that voice acting for that too.
yeah. Well,
Just you did not know.
he's done a few things, but probably his most famous voice role, I think most people know, Will Friedle from, as I said, was as Terry McGinnis, Batman and Batman Beyond.
Well, Ron Stoppable would be just as famous, I would think, because Kim Possible was a very popular cartoon as well.
Hmm.
But anyways, on with this.
Yep. Yeah. So moving on. So back to now, he's talking about going back to the article here, and the comics are all being given away to New York City public school students. This project is being orchestrated. Okay, so yeah, so I guess this is from the article. I guess this project is being orchestrated by the New York City Department of Education, the largest school system in the United States, and the Civics for All Comics Group as part of its American history curriculum. The comic, created by writer Harry Barajas, artist Louis Chin, colorist Gab Contreras, and cover artist Jay Gonzo, is a biography of farm labor and human rights leader Dolores Huerta, titled Dolores Huerta and the Plight of the Farm Workers Union Organizers. The biography chronicles the civil rights leader's path and does so remarkably while she is still alive to see this kind of recognition.
Okay, before we get on with this, Good Night Spoon says we should take a poll on your channel. I'm not sure whether it means mine or yours. I'll mock up the layout for you. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you have it done by tomorrow and send it to me, Good Night Spoon, I can put if it's for my channel, anyways, I can get it up, put it up when I'm on tomorrow night.
Well, what's he wanting to do a poll for?
Well, obviously, I think he's talking about that actor that you're talking about from
Oh,
Boy Meets World.
Will
Whether
Friedle?
he's more known for Ron Stoppable or Terry McGinnis.
Hmm. Terry McGinnis, Batman
Yeah.
from Batman Beyond.
Yes.
Okay, quote: Historias de Resistencia, Dolores Huerta, and the plight of the Farm Workers Union organizers is more than just a comic book. It's a tribute to the power of grassroots activism, enduring legacy of one Mexican American woman's fight for justice, unquote, says Barajas in the announcement. Quote, through its pages, readers of all ages can absorb, study, and be inspired to stand up for what is right, unquote. And we do know that activism has been a focal point in the school system.
Yeah. And activism, there's nothing inherently wrong with activism.
It's
Obviously,
depending upon
it's
what
a,
you're being active towards.
yeah. And some people would say some things are good. Some people, we would all just disagree, may agree or disagree on what is good or bad. And Goodnight Spoon says, question: what is Will Frail famous for? A. Terry McGinnis. B. Ron Stoppable. Eric Masters. D. Podcasting. E. Who is Will Friedle?
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
All right.
Okay.
So, in addition to the 100,000 print run of Dolores Huerta and the plight of the farm workers, union organizers being given out to students starting March 1st, the school system is also making a digital version of the comic available for free to reach its entire student population, in parentheses here, and the world. This book is the first of several planned comic books by the New York City public school system in the Historias de Resistencia series.
Well, it seems good. Obviously, it depends on if they're just chronicling her life, that's fine. If they're trying to put some sort of message in it, because it just on an overview, not knowing too much, it seems like I think she did a good thing.
Mhm.
But it's a pretty good picture there of her. I think, anyways. I don't know what she looks like in real life, so pretty good artist
Well,
too.
there she's depicted as being fairly elderly too. It looks like.
Yeah, it's probably
I
what
think
she
she's
looks
probably in
like
her
now.
70s right there. It looks like.
Yeah, it's probably her present day look.
Yeah. Then this is Avi speaking. Resistance to what? That's what comes up as fishy here. At least, would that be family values? Because I noticed on the third page in the slideshow the talk of, quote, LGBT brothers and sisters, unquote. And when they drag that kind of blabber into the mix, it becomes apparent they're more interested in pushing stuff considered unsuitable for children and into a supposedly educational publication. Hmm. And Gavin Newsom, governor of California, makes an appearance in the comic pages themselves. What's so great about him? And that's not so good. And that's not so great about, say, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Yeah. Well, first of all, obviously, I don't probably think there's a reason to bring in the LGBT thing again. It sounds like it could be rather forced. I haven't seen what this guy's talking about, so I don't know whether it's makes sense or not. Um, again, it
Well, that
depends
kind
on
of
how.
surprised me too, because if this is supposed to be about the whole plight of farm workers, what does the LGBT community how to do with the plight of farm workers too? I mean,
Yeah, it would be one thing maybe if she had, somebody that in that community that was a relative, but probably back when she was doing this, which is I don't know when exactly. This was probably 40 or 50 years ago when or more. Like if she's in her 70s now, or I'm not sure how old she is. There's a lot to think. And and again, it depends on why, Gavin Newsom is in it in any way, shape, or form, because it might be Mexico is more below or that area.
yeah.
So, although again, I'm not sure what it would necessarily.
Well, Dolores. So I'm looking up her Wikipedia page right now. Dolores Horton was born April 10th, 1930. So she'd be 93 today, and she's still alive, mind you.
Yeah, they were saying that.
So, um,
So,
but according to her Wikipedia page, I'm looking up here, is an American labor leader and civil rights activist who, with Cesar Chavez, is co-founder of the United Farm Workers Association, which later merged in the Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee to become the United Farm Workers. Huerta helped organize the Delano grape strike in 1965. So a lot of her activism was happening back in the 60s. A lot of
yeah,
her.
so 60 years ago. So,
Yeah.
um, it depends on why he's I can get Gavin Newsom's in it.
Oh, they probably had him. They probably had him. Make an
Is he
appearance. And
presenting an award
he's
to her modern day in
one of
it
the few
near the
people
end?
that. Yeah, he's one of the few people in the Democrat Party who's looked at as a possible replacement for Joe Biden. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get all that. I know all that, but there might be an actual real reason that he's in it. He was maybe part of it. Give here some award, modern day or whatever. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how they lay it all out.
Mhm.
There, at the moment, we haven't got a lot of information about the comic. We hear that he's in it. We hear that it's about her life or part of her life at least. And there's something about LGBT brothers and sisters in it, and we're not given any context to how this stuff is in it. Obviously, it doesn't sound good. At least the one part being in it. And again, even with Gavin Newsom, it depends on how he's in it, the context,
Mhm.
in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, since we don't have the comic in front of us and we're not reading the comic, we don't. Yeah. Um. But you know.
I don't want to judge it till I actually read it. Yes, it gives me some misgivings,
Mhm.
possibly,
Mhm.
but till I actually read it, or you can tell me more what's in it.
Mhm.
But anyways, Good Night Spoon says, "Are we talking about the Mexican Day of the Dead?" No, we're talking about probably because of that picture of the lady. And then he says George Bush doesn't care about gay farm workers. I'm not which depend. Well, one George Bush I think might be dead. I'm not sure. The
Actually,
senior.
the older one is dead. He just died, I think, like a couple years ago, I believe. George H.W. Bush, the older Bush, but he was already in his 90s when he passed on there. So
Yeah.
the younger Bush is still alive. The
Yeah.
W is still alive.
Uh,
Anyways, finishing off this article here, I'm afraid this appears to be little more than another left wing propaganda publication. And wouldn't you know it, they're giving it away for free. Of course they are, because they're trying to push the agenda.
well, it is supposed to be something educational, so they may or may not. Again, we don't know for sure. We don't know everything in it. It's very highly probable that it is. I
Mhm.
will agree, but until
A,
you
mo-
actually said to sit
yeah,
down and read it, you don't know. Anyways, I'll let you finish.
a most cunning tactic bad propagandists employ, if that's what it takes to indoctrinate even more, if you need to tell the history of how cultural communities gone about, that's okay. But pushing woke propaganda on students has long insufferable, and this is decidedly something concerned parents shouldn't overlook. New York is just not a good place to be sending kids to school anymore.
Yeah, well, who knows? New York might be abandoned soon.
There are a lot of people who are apparently moving out of New York. Oh, and look who joined us, Rick.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey, oh, Rick,
J.R. Sarah.
hey there, Jr. How you doing, my friend? Glad
I
to see
haven't.
you.
I'm not sure which. I've seen the show Dinosaurs a long time ago, but I haven't seen every episode, and so I haven't probably seen that episode you're talking about.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I don't know how much it is propaganda. Like I said, it probably is till I read it or whatever and know how all this stuff fits in. I want to reserve my judgment,
Mhm.
but it's definitely it might be semi-educational, some educational mixed in with stupidity.
Mhm. Yeah, okay. Well, we're getting close to the hour mark here, so I'm going to start to wind things down a bit. I was planning on trying to go just over an hour, like maybe hour 15 or so, to kind of make up
Well,
for the short, for the next couple of nights, try to go a little over an hour. So I think we're going to move on to the wrestling wrap up now. Um,
okay. You don't want to do your third article?
um, No, because I think if we did that with as much conversation we've been having about them, we'll be getting closer to like an hour and a half. And I don't necessarily, granted, why I did want to go over an hour tonight, and over the next couple of nights, I didn't necessarily want to go like full on hour and a half.
Yeah, I understand.
So might be a little too long there, but well, actually, something. Screw it. I'll just go ahead and do it. I'll just go ahead and do it anyways. So we'll do this last article here, um, and then we'll get into the closing act here. I guess I will do it, Rick. Um,
Okay, I'll try to minimize my disdain for it.
we just don't know what sexual harassment. Oh God. Oh boy. Okay. Anyways, okay. So we'll do this last article, then we'll move on to the wrestling wrap up and stuff like that. So this is one we've been talking a lot about lately because some of you may have heard kind of a continuation or reboot of the original classic X-Men animated series from the 90s. There's been a lot of talk about that. In fact,
Yeah,
even from that, Apex, and we're even talking about it. He was in the chat last night. He wasn't on the stage, but
Yeah, I actually watched a video about this today. Apparently, second season they're going to be doing a lot of gender bending and race swapping, gender bend,
oh yeah, oh yeah.
and
Well,
they're thinking,
I also told you about what they were doing with Morph, right?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So,
not only that, mind you, but they also are claiming that Morph in the I guess in this newer series has a very interesting buddy relationship with Wolverine. If you get what I mean there. Anyways,
oh,
X Men.
and the other thing is they're thinking of bringing out a new Spider-Man animated based off, well, the old one, yeah, the
Yeah.
continuation of it, and doing all the crap from it in it too.
So,
That
anyways,
was,
X Men the animated series fans should ignore Disney's X Men '97 article by Chris Braley, published February 17th. So here we go with this then. So Marvel and Disney are once again dealing with controversy following the release of the trailer for their latest project, the X Men '97 Revival animated series. But does the skepticism of nostalgic fans lack merit? Um, we've been skeptical ever since Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox in 2019. So soon after, Marvel Animation under Marvel Studios began to develop new MCU TV shows for Disney Plus, including What If, Marvel Zombies, Eyes of Wakanda, and Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. The revival of X-Men the Animated Series, which aired from 1992 to 1997, was also greenlit and is scheduled to premiere on Disney Plus on March 20th, 2024. So a few weeks away here. Continuing from where the fifth season ended.
okay, Good Night Coon says that's really the episode. Oh, there's an episode of Dinosaurs called that. Okay. And then he says they're making X-Men a gay allegory.
Well, yeah, well, possibly because people have argued that X Men has been somewhat, you know, there have been some people who made the argument that it was at one time being used as an allegory about the civil rights movement.
Yeah, but Stanley has said that that's not what he ever originally intended. Maybe it was in the back of his mind and somehow influenced him a little without him thinking about it. But Stanley has said that's not what it was meant to do. That's not his conscious intention.
All right. So, anyway, so many original voice actors like Cal Dodd, Lenore Zan, and George Buser will return for X Men '97, reprising their roles as Wolverine, Rogue, and Beast, respectively. The debut trailer indicates that the series will follow the events of X Men, the animated series finale, where Professor X departs Earth, leaving his X Men team. Basically, that's when he was attacked in that final episode, and
Yeah,
um,
he got injured and he had to go off to the Shi'ar. I think it's the Shi'ar Empire to get healed, you know, and leaving Magneto in charge of the X-Men.
despite a positive reaction to the trailer, okay, X Men
That's yeah.
'97 managed to spark controversy over accusations of being overly "quote unquote" woke. However, such claims seem a little misguided, considering the team of mutants have represented what could be considered by some to be woke over the many days. And this is one of the debates that even Apex and I were having when he was in the chat last night. Was he was saying no, it was never considered woke, but um, not only dealing with racial politics, but frequent LGBTQ issues as well. Now, again, we've even pointed out the racial politics aspect of it, but I don't really think that. because I watched the 92 to 97 version. There was never any indication of like the 2001 X-Men Evolution may have dropped some hints about it with in terms of
Yeah,
talking about Mystique
yeah,
and Destiny's relationship as Rogue's parents, but
yeah.
um, but
Again, people want to put all this stuff in it when that's not what it was originally intended for, and just because it's an easy way to do it, easy cop out, to do something like that to represent their agenda or allegory, or however you want to say,
mhm,
because it's there. They're hated, they're fighting, but nobody does what the X-Men do though. If it is an allegory, they fight and help the people that are against them, where these people do not.
mhm.
I
Oh,
don't know what you think.
I was under the impression it was always a gay allegory. Maybe that's just what they said for the Brian Singer era. You
Yeah,
know. No, if anything, the allegory aspect of it was more. There was more of an argument made that it was more of an allegory about racial politics and the civil rights movement than anything else. Even
yeah,
though,
and it would have been more that, if anything, because that's what was going on in Stanley's era. Thus, maybe it was in the back of his mind, but you know, he didn't create it like that. He was just creating a bunch of people, like Spider-Man's hated, like is he supposed to be an allegory for he goes around saving people. Is he supposed to be an allegory for something too? You
mhm.
know? You know, a lot of heroes in the Marvel universe are hated, yet they still help people.
Well, Rick,
And
you and
they
I know full well that's. I mean, because you were here when I read the first, when I think I read like one of the first Namor stories. Remember
yeah.
the debate we had about that, about whether or not he was a villain or not?
Oh, he is a villain, but that's beside the point. But my point is, Spider-Man goes around saving people. No, Spider-Man's not gay. Although, who knows, they might do something like that. But they, Namor went up and he killed or injured people right from the beginning. Yes, depending on, I guess, in some ways how you look at it, but still, he was a little bit too
Yeah.
severe in
Well,
how he
yeah,
did things.
yeah, because from Namor, I think is one of those who falls under the category what's one person's villain is another person's hero,
Yeah.
because But anyways, continuing on with the article here. Um, let's see now. Oh yeah, but frequent LGBTQ issues as well. Not everyone accepts this argument, and I don't either. But it's not a hard one to accept. And so X Men up. Let's see. So this is from X Men updates. If Morph being non-binary makes you angry, you clearly don't know what X Men stand for. And then this is the description of what they're doing with Morph.
I don't know what X-Men stands for. I've read them and know more about them probably than you. I don't know, Rick. It says good night, Spoon. Didn't he marry Hydro Man in the cartoons? No, he was in the middle of getting ready to marry Mary Jane.
Yeah. Um, um, and I guess Frank, let's be Frank, responds here. Disney takes over. Let's make it gay and lame. Okay. Um, while the X Men being quote unquote woke is a fairly easy argument for Disney apologists and Marvel shill sites to dismiss, the more concerning revelations about the upcoming series has to do with the people creating the show, and their politics are perhaps some of the most deranged and divisive as many Marvel project to date. For example, X Men '97 head writer Bo DeMaio who has suggested that the upcoming Disney Plus revival of the classic Marvel cartoon will focus on, quote, today's world, unquote, woven into its story and told the direct that, quote, knowing what we know now, how would the show how would this show look like in today's world? With everything that has changed and everything that hasn't changed, sadly, in our world, um, that is where I believe my focus has been as a storyteller, has really been that, unquote. While these comments seem sensible on the surface, they don't seem to indicate that the X Men comics have dealt with political issues for decades, and not always in a way that would make today's intolerant woke activists comfortable.
Good night, Fuentes. But that wasn't Mary Jane. She was killed by Goblin. The MJ he was engaged to was Hydro Man.
I don't know if you've ever seen this panel before, Rick. You a mutie, then pride, like like him. Gee, I don't know, Phil. Are you a bleep? Oh boy. And then I guess Alicia here says, I'm going to mute this now, but before I do, I completely understand the point and the context here. I get that it's an allegory for the civil rights movement. I understand mutie is an in universe term. I
Slur.
still, oh, I still don't think it was a good idea for a white writer to have a white. Mayo certainly has his own political viewpoints that might creep into the show. Here is one of the show's supervising producers, Jake Castorena's social media post, which was retweeted and actually pinned Bo DeMaio, now deleted. Do posts like these instill confidence in the direction of the show for nostalgic fans? I think I might. Yeah, I think I do remember seeing an article about this guy. Yeah, yeah. Rad tweet thought brought to you by some rad facts. 25th Amendment. No, this. Yeah, I remember this. We're covering this. To be fair, that's actually a fairly normal thing to retweet if you voted for Joe Biden. It's actually nothing when compared to X Men 97 supervising producer Charlie Feldman's social media, which borders on derangement. In September 2020, Feldman tweeted, quote, Donald Trump cannot condemn white supremacists because he is a white supremacist, unquote, 3 times like she was chanting it for some reason.
Yet he did it several times.
Yeah. But Feldman's politics extend far beyond President Trump. She's also quite enraged at the Immigration and Customs Enforcement arm of the American law enforcement.
Good night, Spoon says Corey Feldman. What's
No,
Corey?
Charlie Feldman. It's not Corey Feldman. Charlie Feldman. I think she's a I think she's a writer or somebody on staff with Marvel. Yeah. Let's see. While neither of these political views should necessarily impact our work on X Men 97, the following series of tweets indicate that there may be a very heavy push toward radical DEI. That's diverse, in this case, diversity, equity, and inclusion, not to be confused with Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. Anti-whiteness, or what is frequently referred to as "quote unquote" wokeness topics in her work on X Men '97.
I don't know if Corey Feldman has a brother or a sister in this case. Did we miss a bit there, or there's
Well,
just
it
some?
was just her retweeting a bunch of some of her tweets. Then my
Uh,
personal writing tropes include grappling with gender, himbo, good boys, mom stuff, queer kids going on adventures have zero to do with queerness. You know, again, none of this is.
okay.
Yeah, so and I guess that's a picture of her and somebody else. I guess somewhere in there. But Feldman also retweeted Gravity Falls creator Alex Hirsch, who posted, quote, to any creative at Disney TV, feature, publishing, or streaming, please mercilessly spam your execs with, quote, there's room, a smaller quote, there's room for everyone under the rainbow, unsmaller quote. Next time they tell you to, in smaller quotes, please revise, unsmaller quote, your LGBTQ plus character for, in smaller quotes, non being Disney.
Not being disappropriate.
Not being. I saw this video yesterday by Diversity and Commons Richard Meyer downplaying the accusations that the show will be woke. Richard seems to think that all chatter about Wolverine potentially having a bromance with a non binary character were overblown. I think there's a good chance that Richard was not aware of this X Men 97 supervising producer's tweet expressing a desire to see romance between Sam Wilson and the Winter Soldier. Finn and Poe from Disney's Star Wars trilogy, the two male characters from Luca, and the two main male characters from Cartoon Network Infinity Train. Perhaps there will these will disabuse Richard of the notion there is very little possibility of any bromance in X Men 97.
Well, I don't. Depends what you mean by bromance. If you just mean two guys that are good friends or whatever, I don't mind that type of bromance. But if there's anything more intimate of nature, no, thank you.
Yeah. Data Racer has shared even more concerning tweets if you really want to see them. So, yeah.
Goodnight Spoon says I heard they tried to make a Picard data thing happen. I don't know about that. Could be.
For many, X Men the Animated Series ended in 1997. There's already plenty of indication that the personal politics of the production team has spread into this show. It's something that we've talked about on this channel, and I know other commentators have talked about it too. It's the idea that they're taking established IPs and trying to push their agendas because it's a lot easier to make them acceptable with already established characters than
Uh,
with just creating a new character.
uh, can you go up for a sec to the picture of Rogue there?
Oh yeah, this is one of the other things they talked about in terms of the
Yeah,
artwork.
yeah. Okay, I get that there's a they're basically trying to show that they didn't make her as sexy as the thing. It's a different cartooning style. I think if they were going to continue it, they
Mhm.
should have continued in the same cartooning style. This is a lot less detailed, the new stuff,
Yeah, but
compared
one of
to
the
the
big
old.
things they were talking about here with Rogue is that they were actually making her less sexy. They were actually like flattening her chest out. I mean, you have
Yeah,
another
yeah,
shot
but
of her rear end where they make comparisons to her rear end back in the '90s cartoon versus now what they've done with it because they flattened her chest out a bit, they flattened her rear end out a bit, you know.
yeah, but I think that comes in part of the. and I could be wrong in this. That just comes part in part, I think, doing with the whole style of cartooning differently.
Yeah.
Goodnight Spoon says,
So okay.
"Whoa, that's too spicy for YouTube. You need to censor it."
Yeah. There's no way Disney will revive certain elements like Wolverine's conversion to Christianity, which happened, I think, in the last season there.
Yeah.
Or
Although I won't say he converted to, he was looking at it.
right.
And actually, I'd probably more say Catholicism than
Yeah.
Christianity based
Yeah.
on Nightcrawler.
Yeah. Much less treat the original series with any respect. Therefore, there is no reason for me to watch these deranged children treat one of my favorite old cartoons as a skin suit for their woke activism, which is again that's pretty much what I. Thankfully, the X-Men department at Disney doesn't mind if we don't watch, so this is a win-win.
Yeah, it's going to be a win-win lose. They don't care if we don't watch, we won't watch, and they'll lose.
And then they'll lose because they won't make any money off of it, and
Yeah, that's.
so anyways, so that's all the articles. So now we're gonna move on um, to the rest
I
of
don't
it.
know. A
Oh,
good
go
night
ahead, Rick.
spoon says, "Is this a political show? You mean this one here that we're on, or the X-Men '97?
No,
This
what we're
isn't
talking about when we say
necessarily
political
political,
show,
but
it's X-Men '97 is what we're talking about there. They've turned it into a political show,
yeah.
basically.
But if you mean this one, no. Well, we're both obviously conservative, basically, I'd say. But we're commenting on this as I'm not
Yeah,
sure whether.
we're like okay. So good night. I know this is the first time you've been on my show here, so let me explain to you. So I cover what I traditionally would consider niche topics and niche pop culture, which is like anime, cartoons, comics, manga, pro wrestling. Okay. Now, yes, sometimes it does sound like we're getting a little political, but only because from an one of the things that's been happening for the last 6, 7 years here, 8 years, has been kind of the idea of the push of how you're getting more and more of these mainstream creators who are imbuing their own political ideologies into their work. Instead of making it about writing a good story, they're using these platforms to, you know, push their agenda. So, and it's not as much politics either. I usually try to stay away from talking about politics on this channel. It's more ideological. It's more the ideological values people hold and how
Yeah,
they. Now, generally speaking, I know there are a lot of people out there who will sit there and dunk or just focus on dumping on the woke left. That's not necessarily what we're doing here. Yes, we will critique them when they do stuff like this. But, like for example, I do on Fridays, and Rick can tell you about it too. I do a historical comic retrospect where we go back and we look at how comics used to be, long before this woke, evolution happened or revolution happened.
yeah,
You know,
60, 80 years ago.
60, 80 years ago. Yeah. Um, so, um, anyways, but as I said, I cover what I traditionally need. So we cover niche news in terms of like anime, cartoons, comic, manga, pro wrestling. So hey Apex, hey Mike, Rick Piper, good night Spoon.
Hey,
Of course, help us out by liking and sharing the stream if you haven't already. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. Also,
I have
if
activated the thumb drive. I don't know what it
also
means by
anything
that.
here we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. So with that being said, though, I'm going to go ahead and get to the wrestling wrap up here. So with WWE news, as they of course are preparing for this weekend's elimination chamber. We'll go back to Friday night here as soon as I can see that. Talk about what happened on this past Friday's SmackDown, which included heading into with Corey Graves and Wade Barrett. So you had in the Elimination Chamber qualifying matches for the men's side, Kevin Owens um, and Logan Paul qualifying for this Saturday's Elimination Chamber, and then on the women's side of it, Tiffany Stratton, who was recently brought up from NXT, as well as Naomi making her return, qualifying for it. And the other matches, Authors of Pain defeating Bo Morris and Javier Bernal in the other match of the night. Again, there's a lot of build going towards like now with how the WWE has responded to the fan backlash. Now making for Cody for Cody Rhodes to finish his story with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. So usually just pretend comics weren't left liberal leaning just by pretending a bunch of atheist Jews in New York were small town Christians mysteriously. So, anyways, but anyway, so WWE is continuing to prepare for AEW as they make their way towards Sting retirement match at in a few weeks at Revolution. On this past Friday's Rampage. Now, also, they did not have Collision this Saturday due to the fact that because of NBA All Star Weekend. But on this past Friday's Rampage, saw in the opening match Sammy Guevara defeat Jeff Hardy in a no disqualification match. The latest generation of Von Erichs, the Von Erichs, Marshall, and Ross Von Erich, the sons of Kevin Von Erich, and teamed with Dustin Rhodes to defeat the three-man team of Hit, Romeo Cruz, and Shimbashi. Queen Aminata continued to make huge impressions. She defeated Anna Jay, and they shook hands and hugged each other in a sign of sportsmanship after the match. And the main event saw the Bang Bang Scissors Gang of Anthony Bowens, the Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed, and Jay White and the Guns of the Bullet Club, defeating the six-man team of Dark Order, Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, Satman Singh. So there were a few other things, but rather than go too much longer, I'm gonna just skip ahead to go ahead and skip ahead to I'm trying to wear down a bit here. This day in Needs history.
Yeah. Good next one says, I have questions. A, did you say AEW?
Yes, I did. All Elite Wrestling.
And then it's, of course, you can see, is that the one where they cosplay kaiju? I don't think so.
No, it's a professional wrestling organization. It's on TBS and TNT every week. And then C, have you already discussed the Vince McMahon lawsuit? We've discussed that before. There's nothing new. Yes, I have discussed that. Well, I discussed it when it was first reported, like a couple weeks ago, like a week or so ago. Um, there wasn't, obviously there's nothing new right now. I mean, basically, most of what's coming out of that story is just simply like Brock Lesnar is now persona non grata, apparently, even though he's not being sued, nor was he actually named. He was supposedly hinted at as somebody Vince allegedly sought to traffic Miss Grant to, you know, with his former UFC. But yes, we have talked about that. There's just nothing new that's come out of that. Um, so,
And
but
if there's
anyway,
anything new, you'll
for
probably
today,
end up talking about it.
uh,
I said if there's anything new, you will probably end up talking about it.
yeah, I mean, if there's anything new that comes out of it, the only thing is that now they're saying there's a possibility that I mean, one of the newer developments that came out of it, of course, was supposedly before her passing back in 2019. Ashley Massaro had apparently made some kind of was on the verge of making some kind of allegations against him. Um, but
Good next one. Yeah. Good next one says there's a wrestling league that was on the same level as AEW a few years ago. But the wrestlers dressed as monsters and they put cardboard buildings in the ring. Okay. Interesting.
well, I get he might be talking about Lucha Underground. That might be what he's talking about, but I don't know for sure. But like WWE and AEW are the two main ones right now, and then you still, of course, still have NWA still, still active under Billy Corgan. You have MLW, Major League Wrestling, based out of Philadelphia. But
And
anyways,
of
now we're
course,
going to start to wind down. Okay, Apex.
no, I am not related to Roddy Piper in any way, shape, or form.
I
I'm not
actually,
sure
and here,
whether
and I know that for a fact because what you have to understand, Roddy Piper, that was a stage name. That was not his actual name. Okay, Roddy Piper's real name was Roderick Toombs, Toombs. Okay, Piper was just his wrestling name or his stage name, basically. So now, Grant. Now Roddy Piper
just like
does. I
just
think
like
both
Hulk
of his
Hogan
kids,
is.
Colton Teal, have become wrestlers in recent years. But yeah, but his real name is Toon. But anyways, today being Monday, February 19th, 2022 or 2024. uh it's called Kaiju Big Battle. Okay.
Cool.
Um but anyways, today
It's
being
this day in each
let's
history.
this day in each history, and they have a high noon. Okay. So anyways, so first off, we're gonna head back 90 years ago, as on this date, 90 years ago, back in 1934. Should I pull that up here?
I couldn't sue because I got high noon from like westerns, so then they could sue me.
Yeah.
Although I don't
19,
think that's
so on this date, 90 years ago today, back in 1934, The Toy Shop would premiere in movie theaters. It was a Walter Lantz production featuring Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. So on this date, 90 years ago today, The Toy Shop from Walter Lantz Productions premiered in movie theaters on this date 90 years ago today.
well, that's a weird place to premiere your toy shop in a movie theater.
It was an animated short produced by Walter Land Productions. Walter Land Productions, of course, later gave us Woody Woodpecker.
Yes. Of course, I'm just teasing a little.
All right. Anyways, moving on to the next piece of niche history here. Um, on this date, 10 years ago today, back in 2014, during their run with the during their run with the series here, Dark Horses, the 25th issue of Dark Horses Conan the Barbarian went on sale on this date 10 years ago today, back in 2014. Sold for $3.50, 32 pages. Part 4 of the Song of Belit, um, or Bellet, um, was um, was the name of the story. It was written by Brian Wood, with art by Leandro Fernandez. Richard Starkey did lettering, and David Stewart did the coloring. So um, on this date, 10 years ago today, the 25th issue of Conan the Barbarian from Dark Horse went on sale on this date back in
Goodnight
2014.
Spoon says, no famous birthdays. 2014 was 10 years ago? Yes, it was. Today, Apex says, today is Bruce Wayne's birthday. And then Goodnight Spoon says, I think I'm going to throw up. Why do you think you're going to throw up?
Anyways, moving on to 5 years ago today, on this date, 5 years ago today, in the aftermath of that year's Elimination Chamber pay per view, WWE held its SmackDown live event, from the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans, Louisiana. The show saw in its main event Kofi Kingston, AJ Styles, and Jeff Hardy defeat the new Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, and Samoa Joe in the main event. You also had on the night Mandy Rose defeat Asuka, in which Asuka was the SmackDown Women's Champion at the time of the match. The opening match saw Aleister Black defeat Andrade. So this is coming off of Elimination Chamber event and continuing. They're heading into WrestleMania that year. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. And before we, of course, we sign off, Rick, did you want to do any outros or anything like that before we head out?
Well, Goodnight Spoon has one last statement. He says, 2014 was yesterday. I get time sick. And I guess all I can say is tomorrow night, around 10 o'clock or maybe just after, depends on when I get home. I'm going to go see a movie that starts at 4. I will be doing my show for, well, actually, 7 o'clock.
It'll be after mine. Now, for those who came in late and don't know what's going on here, I'm trying something a little different here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reaching out to some of the guys. And I'm going to do it. Have a different one every night here.
Or try to.
Or try to. In which I'm going to bring somebody on to co-host with me as we go over the news articles. Now, as some of you have been around a while, we have the co-host on Friday nights, for the historical comic retrospective and the panel show on Sundays. I'm going to be also reaching out to people to co-host during the week with me to go over the news articles and also, see if maybe we can spark that up. So, and an Apex saying here, I'm inking and watching the show. All right. Well,
Cool.
Apex, I may be contacting you sometime in the near future to see if you want to hop on with me during the week here, as we, like you did that one time. When we go over some articles and you give commentary on that. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope everybody enjoyed the show. And I guess we do have.
Goodnight Spoon says, I don't think my shenanigans fly here. No, but maybe they will drive here. He says, don't see Matt Webrick.
They're on.
This is why you
All
sent me
right.
here
So
from
with
the
that, I
future.
thank everybody for being here, and I hope everybody enjoyed the show. And we will see you all tomorrow. Bye.